Looks like, I don't know. There we are. I'm a little early. Let's see what happens here. Whew, what a week. Um, yeah, it's been quite the week. Uh, I'll get into that in a minute. I know it's a bunch of dead air right now, but I'm working on it. Okay. Ain't nobody watching yet anyway. Okay. Alright, there we go. Now, there. Okay, there I am. Yeah, live and in person. So, here I am. Anybody wants to chat? So, okay. Yeah, like I said, it's been quite a week. Uh, last week before school starts, which, if you don't know, I work for a school, and I got to quit leaning forward, or you all won't see me. Anyway, this is last week. It was a week of meetings, mostly that I didn't need to go to and wasn't interested in, but it's required. There was some, excuse me, that I was not interested in. We had our active shooter training, which that tends to interest me. I mean, the times I'm at the school, I'm not likely to have an active shooter. I mean, as I looked it up last year, and it may have changed, but most active shooters most active shootings at schools are like at 9 o'clock in the morning. So, yeah, I don't usually get there until 1:30, and then I leave for I don't know how long I'm going to this year. Well, I drive the afternoon bus route, but I will be gone for at least an hour. So, yeah, we had all that, and I went to get my truck legal, and it needs a lower ball joint on the driver's side. This isn't working very well. About that. Is that better? Not really. I want to lean forward. Try a little more. Okay, there we go. Um, like I was saying, got a bad lower ball joint. They wouldn't pass this. It wouldn't pass inspection. Okay, fine. So I set it up an appointment there for this next Thursday, and they wanted $420 to fix it, which I could fix it. I'm just getting old and don't want to do that stuff. Plus, it would have taken me, next weekend for me will be a 4-day weekend. It would have taken me all weekend to do it. So, that whole 4-day weekend. And that's just because I can't do things like I used to. Uh, Mo joints don't work as well as they did. I'm tired. Anybody else out there just tired? But anyway, that was Friday. I was working on that. But I went and got my tax receipts. And so I got to thinking about it, and I called a local shop up here. This shop. So I called this shop up here thinking, well, maybe they could get it in quicker. I'm buffering. But anyway, or I was. So I called them up. Well, they can't get it in any earlier. It'll be a week later. But they'll do it $100 cheaper. So I scheduled them and canceled the other one. I know, but hey, $100 is $100. So there was that. And other things, and I've got a new bus route this year that I have no idea about. Well, I'm starting to get a little bit of an idea. I got to go drive it tomorrow myself to make myself a little more familiar with it, because Monday school starts. Monday afternoon I'm going to have to drive this route. But the transportation coordinator has volunteered to ride with me, and I don't want that. I usually would appreciate the help, somebody to help. Hey, okay, now go here, go there, so I can drive it. But have you ever had somebody that just irritates the snot out of you, no matter what? Just their existence irritates you. That's this woman with me. She just absolutely annoys me to no end. Probably because we're kind of opposite ends of the personality spectrum. She's loud and obnoxious, and I'm not. If I'm loud and obnoxious, it's because I've been drinking usually. But anyway, I don't drink anymore either, so that don't happen. Of course, Rhonda might think different, but Well, anyway, so we processed some more chickens today, and we probably could have got them done, but they were forecasting rain to start at 11 o'clock, and we factored in a break at 10:30. And I checked the weather, and we was gonna, I don't know how long a break we could take. Probably wouldn't have been very long, and then we got back at it. But they kept saying it was going to rain at 11:15. Well, we didn't get rain until 1 o'clock, and we'd already put everything up, cleaned everything up. So we probably should have just kept going. And I want to tell you something. If you're thinking about the homestead farm lifestyle and processing your own food, especially chickens, buy a plucker. We bought one. I don't know, I should do a video on it, but that beats the snot out of processing them things by hand. And the last time I did them by hand, I told myself, I'm never again. I'm gonna get a plucker if I ever do it again. The only thing is, you gotta watch your water temperature when you scald them. I'm not going to do a video on how to process chickens. Sheridan Park Farms and Justin Rhodes both have excellent videos, and I'm sure there's other people. I can't remember who it was Rhonda watched, so she would know how to do it. But they do a much better job than what I could do. So go check them out. Uh, if you want to learn. But if you just want a little bit of information, like I said, I need to do a product review on my plucker. It's kind of pricey, but oh, it's so nice. It does, like I said, it does in seconds what it would take me 5 to 10 minutes to do. So, yeah, if you're going to process your own chickens, it would be worth it. Especially if you're going to do more than a half dozen at a time. Like I said, the first time we did it, I'd never used the machine, and we were just getting used to how to do things. And we let our scalding water get a little hot, so we mangled a couple, which doesn't bother us. We'll just, well, my mom actually, she came up and helped us the last 2 weeks. She actually requested one of those mangled birds because she's going to make chicken noodle soup. And I asked for his homemade noodles, and she said yes. So I told her, well, you let me know. I said, is it the kind that's all lumpy in different thicknesses? She said, yeah, probably. So I said, yeah, I like those. So, yeah. And we sat around here, and we had a good visit. The daughter came down and helped us, and we sit out here and talked, and until it started raining finally about 1 o'clock. Actually, it was a little past that. And then my mom's having some kind of, I don't know if it's a seizure or what, but I just saw it for the first time today, and it's scary. And she started, and it looked to me like she was trying to control her breathing. She was breathing okay, she was just trying to breathe through whatever was going on, how you'll do. And then she started shaking like she was cold, and we got her some jackets to cover her up with and a blanket. And then she got to the point where she thought she could walk, and we got her in the house and got her under a blanket and a comfortable chair that would help her warm up, and got her a cup of tea, blackberry citrus tea. And then I come out and did some stuff, went back in, and probably about 10 minutes after we got her in the house, 15, she's starting to feel better. She's got her cup of tea, and somebody's knocking on her door. Nobody knocks on the door. Nobody comes to our house. So we go look, and it's the guy said, hey, I just seen you got some pigs out, and they just ran into the cornfield. Of course, that just made my stomach drop. Said, yeah, it was a big one and a small one. I'm like, crap. So Ethan and our daughter, so we got it. Well, they couldn't find them. And if you've ever been in a cornfield, you understand. You get inside that cornfield and you can't see anything. You can see straight up, straight down, but other than that, all you see is corn. And it's really an adventure at night when you're raccoon hunting. So anyway, it took us about 30-45 minutes to get all of the pigs rounded up and back on our place and back in the pens they belong in. And another thing, if you're thinking about this farming homestead lifestyle, really do some studying on pigs if you want pigs. You got to build strong pens, and even then, once they get to a certain size, they about go anywhere they want. Um, Electric fence really helps. But we've got a big boar out here. He's over 500 pounds, and if he can smell a sow and he walks through that fence, it's a high jewel fence. But most of the time, he's content to stay in it. But so we got the pigs in. By then, Mom's up and standing up, and she's better. So we took her home. Well, we took her and went to a drive-through because I stink. I probably should take time to clean up, but I didn't. I got chicken blood and guts and chicken poop on me, and like I said, I smell bad. And I'm sitting out here in the shop now. When I go in the house, I'll probably go in and take these clothes off, and either get in the tub and soak. I do a Epsom salt soak. Over the summer, I've done it 2 to 3 times a week. Sometimes I'll sneak in a fourth one. Just as hot as I can stand, and about a cup of Epsom salts. And that really seems to help the old bones and muscles and joints. Although I haven't had as much trouble with my joints, just about 2 months ago, I bought this stuff called BPC 157, and it's a peptide, and I'm sure that you've seen peptides on YouTube. If not, check them out. They're interesting, but they're in a gray market. You can go to a doctor, and if you can convince your doctor to give them a try, they do help. Or you can buy them off of what they call the gray market, and it's something else. Well, you really should do them under a doctor's supervision, but I got these, and they come in a pill form. It's about the only peptide I've found so far that comes in pill form. Haven't got myself worked up to giving myself a shot, but since I've been taking these, probably a week to 2 weeks after I started taking them, my joints quit hurting. I don't have any joint problems except in the hands, and I work with my hands all the time. So, but even then, it's not as bad as it was. So, like I said, I didn't talk to my doctor, and I probably should have, but my blood pressure is staying down. It's not jumping around. It's staying level, and it's where the doctor wants it. Of course, like I haven't told my doctor I've been doing this, but I haven't told my doctor I've taken this habit back up either. I usually only do this the pipe smoking 2 or 3 times a week. Probably be less than that now that school's back in. But nicotine does some good things for you. But this isn't the best delivery system. So, it's still, I think, better than cigarettes, because you don't inhale as much smoke, and they don't put as many chemicals in it, and your pipe tobacco people and your cigar tobacco people haven't put all the chemicals in there to try to get you addicted. So, like I said, I think it's a little better for you. Still not great, still, But anyway, we got Mom home, and need to call her here when I get done with this and check on her, see how she's doing. Like I said, it's the first time I've seen her have one of these episodes, and it was kind of odd. I've seen epileptic seizures, but it wasn't quite that way. Like I said, she was just like she was controlling her breathing, but and then she started acting like she was chilled. And so, like I said, when she felt like she could walk a little bit with help, me and the daughter's boyfriend helped her get to the house. And then once we got her up the steps to the house, me and Ethan walked her on into the comfy chair because we couldn't get me, her, and the boyfriend through the back door. So, but I'm grateful everybody was here, and we could get things done. It's kind of scary seeing your parents in that kind of situation. But I'm really grateful that at 61 years old, I still have my mom. Dad passed away in 2016, so I'm really grateful to still have mom. She's 80 years old. I think she'll be 80. Well, she turned 81 this year, I think. No, she's 80. But yeah. So it's kind of how my weekend is. I'm out here in the shop doing this live, winding down, having me a smoke, thinking about things. I've been thinking a lot lately. It's getting back to me having a lot of time alone, starting tomorrow. In between dropping the kids off for Votech and picking them up, Votech, I get about 2.5 hours by myself. And then once I get back from my bus route, just about everybody's gone, so I have my classrooms to clean, and I'm by myself for that. So listen to a lot of podcasts. I don't know, I'm weird, and I think it's because I'm getting older. It is because I'm getting older, and because I don't hear much new music that I like. I like what I like, and it's what it is. I have a hard time finding new music that I like. I've never been into the rap. I like country from about the mid 90s, I guess, back. And I like what they call classic rock. I guess rock and roll started changing for me to where I didn't care so much for it in the mid 80s. So anything about 1985, not anything, or stuff, I didn't like, but and like I said, I like rock music up until, like I said, about the mid 90s or mid 80s, sorry, that I began to not like it. My taste in country music leans towards Charlie Daniels, Hank Williams Jr., that kind of stuff. Just now learning to appreciate Waylon Jennings. And there's a few others I like. I've rediscovered Stray Cats. That's rockabilly, which is a genre of music I really like. But it's odd watching the videos of current Stray Cats, which is still the same three guys, but they're like late 60s, early 70s, or maybe even older, I don't know. I'm like, dude, they're a bunch of old guys. And I realized I'm an old guy. So, but yeah, uh, not really. I'm out of the picture again. Not really looking forward to this school year. Uh, but it's, I can say this, I know for a fact, this is going to be my last year of driving bus and being a janitor. Before school starts next year, I think I will probably have stepped away from custodial work, and I'll just be driving a school bus. To what extent remains to be seen. We may not even do that, since I found out that I can drive a trash truck and make almost $3 an hour. Well, like $2.25 an hour more driving a trash truck than I do driving a school bus. Explain that to me. You know, our children are our future, but they don't want to pay school buses as much as a trash truck driver. That's, I never thought much about school bus driving. I never really wanted to do it, but I needed to get a job, and you know what, I can do this, and I do enjoy it. You know, you build relationships with these kids, you get to know them, and you know they make it fun. And then they switch routes on you, and you got to start all over. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, I guess. But they don't. I mean, I don't know what the starting wage is for a bus driver now, but it's not what it should be. Now, we got a couple of bus drivers that have been doing it for 30-some years now. They're probably where they should be. But, well, we got one that's drove since 1990, and he's making pretty good money. But I just, for what you have to deal with as a school bus driver, you got kids that they're kids. They're going to act up. They're going to do things they shouldn't. They're overstimulated because they're headed home. They're done. They've been locked up in classrooms all day following rules, and you know, and it's just hard for them. They can do it. I'm not saying, again, I'm not giving them an excuse for bad behavior, but I understand what's going on in their little brains. And you got some kids that just, wow. It's like they wake up in the morning and decide, I'm going to be the whole problem. But overall, it's not bad. But the pay isn't what it is, because not only do you have to drive that bus down the road, what are they, 40 feet long? And you've got, you know, I think our average route's about 25 kids. We've got, our routes they're long routes, but there's not many kids because we're in the country. So you got to worry about what you're doing. You got to worry about what those kids are doing. Are they staying in their seats? Are they throwing stuff out windows? Are they beating the snot out of each other? What's going on back there? You know, and then you got to worry about the other drivers, and it's the other drivers that bother me more than the kids do. The kids can be a little rowdy, I can deal with it, but it's the semi trucks that tailgate school buses, and for some reason somebody thought it would be a good idea to put the stop sign that pops out on the side of the school bus, connect it to the button that opens the door. So you'll be at a complete stop, and the sign won't open until you open the door. Well, as soon as you open the door, there's a kid wanting to get out. And last year I had two people, well, I had one person run my stop sign. It was out soon enough he could see it, which scared the snot out of me. Luckily, the kid had to cross the road to get into his house. So, just luckily, he hadn't made it around there yet. And the other one was the guy that almost ran it. He stopped, but he was way closer than he should have been. I mean, and luckily, those kids were going off. They lived on the side of the road where the door was. So, but I've been going my normal route doesn't get on any really busy highways that I ran last year. So I didn't have much trouble, but that Votech route, it drives a pretty busy highway between here and Lamar. And there's some of them big trucks that'll get on there and they're tailgating you, and they're coming at you, and if they're across the line, they're across the line. They don't care, you know. And, you know, there's cars that pull out in front of you, cars that go flying around passing you and then hit the brakes to make a turn all of a sudden because they didn't realize where they were because they were trying to be in too big of a hurry. Yeah. So it can get a little frustrating. Now, I've seen, we're down in Joplin, Missouri, down the road from me here about 30 miles. They're paying $21 an hour for their substitute drivers. And Rhonda was listening to the radio station out of Nevada, Missouri, which is north about 40 miles. And the Northeast Vernon County School District, which would be north and east of Nevada, if you want to look it up. Nevada is spelled like Nevada, the state, but Missouri, we pronounce it Nevada. And they're paying $30 an hour, 4 hours guaranteed every day. So, you know, that's almost wages. That's getting up there, you know, that's $120 a day. That almost makes it worth it. I think that every school district everywhere, or every bus service, needs to take a look at how they pay their drivers and actually think about, you know, we have to have the same CDL training and license as someone driving a tractor trailer. It's one step below a tractor trailer. But if your bus has to have air brakes, you have to study and pass a test for air brakes. And you have to do a driving test. And you have to have a physical every 2 years, or 1 year if you have some kind of medical condition like high blood pressure. If you have high blood pressure, you got to get it checked every year. You got to get your physical every year. And, you know, truck drivers make, well, yeah, they generally make more than, you know, $16, $17 an hour, whatever the starting wage is for bus drivers. And it depends on your school. But just the thought, like I said, of not only is my life, do I have my life in my hands, and the other drivers on the road, we all kind of accept that. But that 25 to 50, whatever, however many kids your bus holds, they have no clue about what's going on. None whatsoever. And the thought that just anybody can do it, or anybody should be allowed to do it, is crazy. And they don't pay enough. You know, and they wonder why we can't keep bus drivers. Well, there's a start. And they got to look at it as a full-time job, because now they see it as the school board, where I'm at anyway, I think, sees it as a part-time job. Well, you only work 4 hours a day. you know, which, anyway. Uh, yeah, but that's a lot of responsibility for that 4 hours, you know. You're holding children's lives in your hand. And, you know, we have to take, there's some online classes. Yeah, I guess you'd consider them classes that we have to take just like the teachers do about bullying and grooming. That's, yeah. Uh, how to spot possible child abuse. And we're obligated that if we think it's happening, we're supposed to hotline it and let the proper authorities know about it. The state. And some of the stuff we hear as school bus drivers, we probably shouldn't hear. It's not all bad, but you know. But anyway, I guess I'll get off of that rant for now. But yeah, this working for a school district has been educational for me. And I guess I was a little naive. I didn't pay attention to much in school. I mean, the stuff they were trying to teach me, and you know, so I sure enough wasn't paying attention to what the teachers were doing, you know, when they didn't involve me. And so I thought they all got along great. No, they don't. They're just like everybody else. They're just people. And I don't know why that was so surprising to me, but it was. But, and like I said, I've learned some other stuff that I cannot repeat in a public forum like this. So, yeah. Better move along before I spill some beans I shouldn't. But that's kind of my week. Just been chaos, and I'm stressing over this new route, and am I going to screw it up? You know, I know I'm not perfect. I know I'm going to make mistakes. I don't even try to be perfect, but I want to do it right, you know. And like I said, I've just got myself all worked up over this new route and trying to get it right, because I was going to get one. They took me around one time, and I was supposed to learn this route with one trip around it. And it's I've not even driven in that area hardly. So, you know, when I did the other route, before I got that route, they were wanting me to start subbing for that route too, which would have been okay. But the guy that was running the morning route, he decided it was time to retire. I mean, he was a Vietnam veteran era vet. Vietnam era veteran. There we go. That probably sounds a little better, huh? So he finally decided he was going to hang it up. Plus, I think he wasn't sure he could pass all the tests. So he just went ahead and retired. I hope that's one of my hopes, is that when I finally do quit working, I can stay busy enough. I don't just sit at home and wither away. I want to just die all at once, you know. My dad died of cancer, and it took him about 6 months. And I don't think that's the way he wanted to go. But just slowly deteriorating, and I think that's probably the worst way to go. I think Alzheimer's is the worst. I really do, though, because you don't know anybody. The people that you've cared about your whole life and have cared for you, you don't know them anymore. You know, and I've known several people that had that, and it's, you know, their life goes on for, well, I don't know, 5 years or more in some cases, and they just don't know anybody. Like I said, family and friends that, you know, they've known and cared for and cared about and been cared about by them, and just don't know them. And it's hard on everybody. I used to, now this is maybe something I should keep to myself, but I used to think that, this is back when I rode a motorcycle a lot, which is another hobby I'd like to start back up, but I got too much other stuff going on. Just riding a motorcycle, not the lifestyle that I was living. I don't need that. But would anyway, I used to think that, well, if I ever got sick and I knew I was going to die, I'm going to get on a motorcycle. I'm going to get on a highway where there's big trucks, and I'm just going to get going as hard as it'll go and pull over in front of a big truck and end it that way. But with my luck, it'd just cripple me, and, you know, the only thing work is my brain. So then I get to sit there and think about being a vegetable. That's not good. But I don't really have those thoughts anymore, so don't worry about me. I don't like the idea of death. I don't like to think about it much, but sometimes it creeps in. You get to a certain age and you can't stop. But anyway, let me think of a less morbid subject matter. Well, I've cut y'all up on my week. I mean, well, I don't know, nobody's on here, but last week there was some people on here. And two of them are people I know. One's simply Jan and her husband Kevin. And they mentioned that, you know, they have a cow and it's got a calf. Long story short, I think I probably bought their cow from them. They said in their live, they said last night in their live, they didn't say who it was, but they said somebody in their chats are probably going to buy their cow, which I am. It's a Dexter, which is probably in my top 5 cows that I wanted. So we're going to buy it. They said it's been bred along beef lines, but I'm going to try milking it. They say she's really people friendly, so if she is, then she should milk. And I'll probably get her tested to see if she's A2, which Dexter is one of those breeds that mostly still are. Unlike, say, Holsteins, who have had, all cows were A2 at one time, and the Holstein has pretty much had it bred out of them. They've been bred so much for milk production that it's rare that one has the A2 proteins. Suck a piece of tobacco up. Could put a filter in here, but I don't like them. They don't draw as well with filters in them. I don't think. I don't know. I've only tried one. But anyway, so, but they don't want to sell her until they wean their calf off of her. They want. I can't remember when they said the calf was born, but they're thinking in November or so. So probably when I do that, when I go pick her up, Jan and I will probably do a little collaboration, or I don't know, appearances. What's it called? Guest appearances on each other's channel. What are these thoughts about Trump and the South American beef? I think it's crazy. Yeah, the United States beef herd is the lowest it's been in 50, 75 years. I forget what they said, but so to help out the consumer, they're going to bring in a bunch of cheap beef from South America, which screws the American producer. And to be honest with you, I don't think the American public generally cares, as long as it's cheap. That's one of those things that's kind of irritating to me. We want our food cheap, but we'll go spend $1,000, $1,500 on a cell phone. What? I mean, I don't know, but this thing might be 6 years old. I'm recording this on. And other than a few little problems, like it's got a cracked screen that it's had for almost 5 years now, and a few other little issues, it works fine, you know. All right, Kevin. Well, I'm glad you popped up. I didn't put it out that I was going to be live. I appreciate you popping in. Go ahead and call that family back. That's more important than me. Like I said, I appreciate you saying hi. Give me a thumbs up on the way out, though, would you? I don't know. I don't broadcast my lives. I don't advertise them. Because I don't know. My life is kind of chaos, and I don't know that I'm going to be able to do a live like I would like to. I'm probably going to wind this up anyway. I've already been on here over an hour, just rambling. You know, if you get really, really bored, you can go catch the replay. But I appreciate you, Kevin. So, yeah, I guess I ought to go ahead and wrap this up. I've been here an hour, and mostly it's just been a recap. So, let's look out for each other. Let's help each other when we can, and don't forget to pray. Later.